they're overstocked and they've got tons of different products on their website that maybe don't even necessarily go together as a logical first, second, or bundle option. They're just sort of on there just because they wanted to release that product type of thing, and it just makes it so much harder.
G'day, I'm Lockie, and welcome to D2C Slingshot, a podcast where we interview brand founders and industry experts to help you out on your own journey, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So, g'day everyone, I'm here with Andy, the owner of Pamboes. I just want to quickly give yourself an introduction, when you started, how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I started Pamboes last year in June, and what we sell is a wearable blanket for your legs. It sort of got inspired, I guess, by a much bigger brand of the space that everybody knows, the Oodie. And, I was just sort of sitting there, had cold legs, and I was like, why don't they bloody make one of these for your legs? Like, why don't they? And to this day, I still don't know why they haven't. Maybe they know something I don't. But, and now we're going into our second year. We've got stock in a UK warehouse. We're in Australia as well. Not quite the hyper e-com success story, but definitely on the right path, I think.
Yeah, I noticed that with the Oodie as well. Like, I'd be walking around the house and it'd be acting like a dress. I'm like, you're walking around with like maybe shorts or just your jocks on underneath, and you got your slippers on, but there's nothing in between.
There's nothing in between. Yeah, exactly. And like, also, like, you gotta tuck your legs into it as well. Like, if you want it to be fully covered, it's like you gotta tuck your legs in. And it's just like, I don't want to be sitting like that all day. Like, for us who sit at a computer the whole time, it's like,
Yeah, I'm constantly in trackies. It's pretty much standard company uniform here. So just trackies all day, every day. I don't really move out of them, especially in winter.
No, it's getting cold. Like, it's getting really cold. But that's sort of a bit about Pamboes. And now, I guess for us, we're still in the startup phase where we're, still testing a lot of different things and trying to figure out what is that core sort of feedback loop, because I'm of the belief that you only really need to find your first core feedback loop. For us at the moment, it was organic TikTok. That seemed to work really well. But now we've just noticed the inconsistencies with that, specifically being multi-regional now. Like, my organic TikToks weren't hitting the UK For You page. So we sort of lost that channel. And then it was like, okay, well, we need a fallback strategy. We need to be running ads, which we were running in the UK, but I guess we can uncover the drama that happened over there a bit later through the podcast.
So originally, obviously, you started on TikTok. Is that correct?
Yep, correct.
And then from there, you've pretty much grown the brand purely through TikTok organic?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So when I first launched, this is my first ever proper business. So to even get like the market feedback that we got was quite, I would say, impressive, because if there's one thing I've learned about e-commerce, it's very, very humbling. You can make, you can have the best product in the world with all the bells and whistles, but if your marketing's crap, if your content creation is crap and stuff like that, you simply just won't sell anything. So I followed when I launched the business, I launched it from like the Lean Startup, a book by Eric Ries. I just sort of plugged that into the business, and pretty much how it worked is I got one sample made, just one, and then I treated this thing like it was gold, because this was the only thing I could use to market. So, and then I just went around and just started making videos with this one sample, sort of like a drop shipper almost. Like, they've got this one product, and just seeing if I could collect emails. And then, or seeing if the product had some viral tendencies. And then, I think our very first video on Instagram Reels got like 20K views. And me being me at the time, I thought, holy crap, like, I'm onto something, 20K views, which we were, to its credit, but obviously knowing what I know now, I'm like, 20K views, it's a drop in the ocean on like TikTok and stuff like that. Like, you can get it just scratching your head in the morning, so, but it was good. But the real caveat there was like, could we get some email signups? Could we get somebody to at least just put their personal info into our website? And then, we managed to go viral about like 200K views within that space, but before launching.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we had like at least over 500 emails. I can't remember exactly. I think it was bordering 1,000, but we like that they were just emails. They weren't sales, right? But we had emails, and like I was like, okay, like that's a good sign, right? That's all I knew. I was like, okay. And I guess the question there is like, would I have still continued if I didn't get those emails, if I didn't get that feedback in there? And look, probably not. I feel like it is very important, I guess, as a startup, or especially if you're first time in business, just to get a little bit of traction, get something to keep you going, because it's just like, it's a tough game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, getting like 1,000 emails on like pretty much before you even launch, that's super important. Even if people were hating on you, but then also giving you some positive feedback as well, you can start getting ideas from that feedback and then product improvements and stuff like that. And then obviously if people are sort of like maybe some negative feedback, maybe some positive feedback, but they're definitely interested in the product as well. And you definitely saw a gap in the market. And people are interested, and if they're fighting in the comments as well, that's feeding the algorithm. I get that on my clients. Like, there's a couple of really good products that have thousands and thousands of reviews, been around for 13 plus years, and then in the comments is like, oh, this is some dodgy piece of crap, I can go to Munnings and make the same exact thing. And then it's like, oh, I can do this for $20 sort of thing. But just going through your TikTok, you've obviously invested a lot of time and effort into it. And then I saw a pretty good video from you just then comparing your product to a cheaper Amazon competitor and just going through that. And I thought you did that pretty well, and just showing the differences between your product quality compared to just a standard pair of trackers you might get from Kmart or whatever.
Well, I think you really need to do that now, especially because like anybody can knock off your product pretty quick unless you've got some undeniable IP or patent on it, and like you really need to have like a strong point of difference. For us, it's like quality, and I guess that point of difference is actually tangible. Like for instance, ours weigh 3 times as much as the dupes. Like I can just simply put that on a scale and show. And, obviously its purpose is to keep you warm. So the logical mind, even to a unsuspecting consumer who's never heard of us or a customer, they can sort of see that and they can understand that. And then that allows them to justify our price tag. And then I guess in that you've also got to have some confidence in your product as well. Because number one, you're turning away the people who are the bargain hunters. And like, I think if you're a startup and or even really, anything, and you're going to try compete on price, you're probably just going to lose in the long run.
A bit of a race to the bottom sort of thing.
It's too hard, And then you're also, whilst you're pushing those bargain hunters away from your brand and your product, because you don't really want to be serving them anyway, not in a rude way, but it's just what it is. They're not your customers. So, but then you're also like opening up the conversation to show the people that you actually do want. And I think a lot of people get scared of doing that because they don't want the backlash. They don't want people hating on their product more, just saying it's overpriced garbage and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? Like Nike, all these huge brands, they can put their little logo on a turd and it would sell, right? So, and just being able to like proudly stand behind your product, I think I see a lot of small businesses really, I feel, miss the mark on that. Like they need to be proud. They need to be in front of the camera and ultimately selling their product, right? Like if you can't sit here and tell me what's so special about your product, like who can, like you're the one who's meant to be able to go, look, this is why ours are better. This is what it does. And like some founders, like if you can't rationally explain why yours is more expensive, why it's this, why it's that, why would somebody buy from you? Why wouldn't they just get the cheaper thing? It's better for them. Everybody wants to save money, especially at the moment. So, you really have to stick true to your product and I guess that's where the whole premise of like, you've got to have a good product, you've got to have a good product. I feel like that gets very oversaid, but without it, you really don't have anything to really leverage even your marketing off. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you do a pretty good job on TikTok responding to comments, hate comments, and just be like, no, you're wrong. Like, this is why we're priced a certain way. This is how we differ from a different product. Like, I think you do that really, really well. And obviously being the face of the brand has helped you handle some of those objections as well, where I have some clients that will just pretty much like try to sort of ignore all that hate and not address that issue. Like if they were to create a video actually objection handling it, then they could possibly see more sales. And I don't know whether you do this or not, but even like in the frequently asked questions, you could have you responding to that exact question on TikTok and just put that in the frequently asked questions on your website as well. So it's not just a bit of text on your website. That's coming from the founder, like this is why we're priced this way and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's definitely something we're looking into testing this winter, is putting like a TikTok style content on the website. I'm not sure if you've heard of that app, Tolstoy or something like that, but it's pretty much a Shopify app that just allows you to put a little TikTok in a little box on the side of the website as they're scrolling, and then they can click on it to expand. So it's sort of like a talking head, and then if it's talking about the product, it gives them a live,
Oh, nice.
And it's supposed to improve conversion rate. And I think it would work quite well for ours because pictures don't really do our product justice. It is something that's so much easier to sell through video because obviously it's got all that fluff inside. You can really pull it out and show how voluptuous it is. It sort of gets flattened out in just a static image. We sort of learned that first when we did our first round of influencers. Not only did we have the struggle of, I guess, having our unique selling point on the inside, it's not outward facing, it's not apparently obvious. So if we're just getting somebody to wear it, people are just thinking they're normal trackies, and then, well, what's so special about these? They're just blue trackies. It wouldn't even get a click, so it wouldn't even really serve the impression in the way we want it to be served, because they wouldn't even remember us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because as I've sort of developed my experience, I guess, in marketing, it's just like, I feel like it's just so much easier to just focus on sort of one thing. Like, what's the one thing you want consumers to remember about you if there's going to be anything in this digital world? Like for us, it's like, I want them to be like, if I'm cold and my legs are cold, I'm going to go to these people. Like even at the very elementary stage, because it all compounds, right? And like, if you're serving impressions that don't sort of service that, or don't push that forward, like what are we building here? So that's why we've sort of really gone hard on more video short form content. We're going to be running some Facebook static pictures to test out more, so like us versus them, like the side by sides and stuff like that, all different sorts to see what sort of works. But yeah, like that's just something we noticed. So
yeah. How'd you go? Like I know a lot of brands do struggle with getting the right content back from UGC creators, and it sounds like you experienced that a bit in the beginning as well. But now do you have like a sort of video structure that those creators need to adhere to, or do you still leave it up to the UGC creator to actually make the content for you, or do you heavily brief them?
So yeah, it depends on the content creator and how confident really I am and how much hand-holding I feel like they need. Now we do pretty light briefs in general. So like when I would do a brief, it's very light in the sense of I just attach pretty much a features and benefits table to our product.
Yeah.
These are the features, and I just sort of say like in the brief, this, like obviously our interior, that's our major unique selling point. Like you need to show that needs to be clear. Back to what I was saying earlier, if there's one thing I want them to remember, it's that we got some fluffy, nice, comfy pants.
Yeah.
And then just sort of matching that up, and then because most UGCs, they'll have a portfolio, so you can see. Usually, the most trouble we've had is like some UGCs, like they don't, I guess, show the unique selling point enough. They just will wear the product. I'm like, no, like I would rather you only wear it for 10% of the video and just show the inside. And this wasn't something I really thought of in when I was even in product development, and I guess if we contrast it to something like the hoodie, its gift is a curse. Like the hoodie has all the design, so even that is like a visual hook. They don't even need to show like the size of it and everything. It's just like, what the hell is that? And I think that's part of the reason why obviously that digital advertising has done so well. But
that's probably part of the reason why I brought mine, because it stood out. Like there's a Star Wars one just sitting down there on the floor, and like I brought one for my mum, I brought one for my brother. Like my brother has a KFC one
as well, right? So I did the same. I showed my parents it, and then I came back to visit my parents like a couple months later, and the whole family had it, and I was like, oh my god, like what have I done? But and like that wasn't something and now I'm sort of thinking like we could put designs on, but at this stage we're still really trying to prove out our advertising and seeing, like I guess diagnose the problem. Like, is it a margin problem? Is it a conversions problem and stuff like that? And we're slowly inching along. If anything, we're sort of at this stage where I would suggest it's potentially a margin problem, and I think a lot of startup brands have that. You don't often have enough quantities, order volume to, get the unit price that you need from your manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
And even still, that's, even negotiating that with your manufacturer, there's only so far you can negotiate them down as well, right? Before they don't really want to work with you. Like, they're a business too, so you sort of have to respect them, especially if they are, the best manufacturer you've sort of found, because it's a washout there. Like, I remember we had to go through about 6 manufacturers just to find one who, had the communication skills and would put in the time just on a sample. Because when you're a first time client, you've never placed an order and you're just getting a sample, they really will cut the corners on you. So you got to find it. For us, at least, and our product, it was really tough to just get that right. And even for a base, but now we have one. Communication's great. Obviously things could always be better, but is it worth the risk of like going off, even paying a higher product price, unit price, to get that product in, all this stuff? So but back to the thing, we sort of...
How did you go about finding a manufacturer? Is it just like ringing up the manufacturer, getting a sample back, doing that 5 times, and then going with the best one?
Yeah, pretty much. So like, obviously we source our stuff from China. We originally tried to source in Australia, but I just couldn't get the unit economics to make sense. We would have to be selling the pants at $140, $150. And I just thought there's no chance that for this product, already what is considered a low perceived value item, I would say, especially in the clothing space, like trackies and, but there was no way I could get somebody to pay that. So that's why we, moved overseas. Took us a bit of time, and it was exactly like you said, just pitching the idea pretty much to a ton of manufacturers, trying to get a rough idea of how much it's going to cost you from each one. Because when I started, I didn't know what anything would cost, really. I didn't know like what's the status quo for this. So pretty much what I did is like, and I would recommend people do this, it's just so much quicker. Just if it's your first product or a new product, just get a sample of like 5 different manufacturers, because you'll be like, it'll cost you a bit, but it will save you so much time, because they'll all arrive at your place, and give them all a very similar sort of brief and instructions on what to do. And then when you get all them, you'll be able to choose your manufacturer pretty damn quick. It's like, okay, I don't care because this person clearly didn't put effort into it. Like, and you'll sit there on the phone coaching them, like telling them, no, I don't want this. You'll take a picture, and there's a lot of back and forth there. And like some manufacturers, like, their level of English and stuff like that is a lot better. So just the back and forth is less, they understand and all that stuff. So then when you sort of get the product and you get to suss it out, you'll sort of know pretty sure who to pick. And then you go on that journey of actual product development and like, finding things that you want to fix. And, there's always things that pop up. And like, we're still improving our product today, right? We're still looking into things like, for instance, like our buttons, our eyelets have been like falling off on some of the batches. And it's just like, okay, how can we improve that? Because when a customer gets this after they've paid $99 and an eyelet falls off, it's not a good look. We're obviously a premium product in the space. And just even, now they're stitching fabric behind that to hold that eyelet in space, because they're telling me that when you put an eyelet on stretchy fabric, it's hard to get the eyelet to like hold in and stuff. So I'm like, oh, well, and they're like, it's going to cost you, 10 cents extra to put that in there, because everything has a price as well with associated, every little detail. And I'm like, yeah, just put it on there, because, I'd rather just pay that. And that's the thing. I think, like, yeah, when it comes back to margin, it's like, do you want to compromise on your quality, and that's something I've really had to sort of come to terms with. And it's also consumers as well. How forgiving are they on the price for the quality? It's a real fine balance.
Yeah. How have you gone about finding that balance? Because obviously you've got your price, you've got your manufacturing, your shipping costs and all that sort of thing, but then you also need to promote your business. Like, would you say you found that balance yet?
Yeah, well, probably not. Like, again, we don't really know. But yeah, because at the end of the day, your margin is all in respect to how much somebody is actually going to pay for it, and also to your acquisition costs. So they're the two variables that you can sort of have a big chew on and think about in what makes sense to you, because it might actually be more profitable for you to drop your price, have more revenue per visitor, on your ads, a bit higher conversion rate, than sell at the higher price, even though, you might be you're not even that much more profitable. You're not more profitable. You're getting more revenue per visit out of, so all these things, and we've sort of learned that, and that's, you never really want to drop your price if you can avoid it. But if, the data's staring you in the face that you would be far more profitable, it's like, at a lower price point, because there's only so much you can really fix your conversion rate, to be honest, as a startup. Like, I've just found that that's probably my lowest point of leverage. We've invested a bit of money into it, like just getting our website looking a bit more schmick, our product page looking nice, but I didn't see extreme jumps. To be honest, it was more like it stayed around the same. So and then we haven't probably found that balance yet, and I guess that's what this year is going to be all about for us. It's going to be really just investing the time into the ads and just seeing how much we can squeeze out of this, and if it actually works. Because when we did run, we've really spent about nothing. Like, it's all been organic, so the margin hasn't been an issue. But now, obviously, we're trying to grow. We got stock in the UK, all this stuff. It's like, I'm in that position where, I have to be on ads, and that's the reality of e-commerce. Like, if you ever want to grow a big business, you're going to have to do it with ads. You can't just rely on organic, it's not sustainable. So
diversification is extremely important in e-commerce. Even with, like, if somebody comes to us for Facebook ads and we're spending, say, 50K a month on ads, but they're not also investing in email, conversion rate optimization, Google ads, like that whole marketing funnel, then you're only really scratching the surface. So you got one hat on there, but I assume you wear multiple each and every day. So you spoke a bit about conversion rate being a bit of a focus in the past. What other areas do you concentrate on in, like, your everyday operations?
Well, probably at the moment, obviously it's just TikTok. Pretty much, it's me making sure I'm at least putting out a video a day. But we've sort of even noticed that the more content we put out doesn't necessarily lead to improved performance. Like, if I'm just putting out, like, because it needs to be a match of quality and authenticity, and also something different as well. Like, if you're putting out similar content, like similar styles of content each day, I feel like your audience gets switched off a little bit. And I know it goes out to the For You page. Big argument on that. And that's why volume is sort of king on TikTok, because, it just goes out to a new audience each time, it seems. But what we found is that, for it to even really land on a good side of the For You page, it needs to do well with our followers first, because your TikTok will get sent out to a portion of your followers first. Is it the fairest algorithm in the world for, content creators and brands? No, it's not. But, it promotes you actually trying to make good and innovative content, whatever that looks like for you in your brand. And, and yeah, we've just sort of seen performance drop away at the more extreme volumes where it's like probably 3 times a day if we're posting anything like that. The one video will do well, the rest will just flop. If I just space it out, I'm working a bit less, I'm getting a bit more bang for my buck. That's just something we've noticed. So that's usually like our top focus is just TikTok. We're trying
How do you keep up with that grind? Obviously, you've got the one product. You can only show colors so much. You can only turn it inside out so much. Like, how do you come up with those new ideas on a daily basis?
Well, for clothes, yeah, it's tough. Like it's a big balance between, engaging with your audience, so replying to comments and stuff like that. And you got to think about, I guess, your TikTok as a full funnel in of itself. Like it's a discovery platform, but people favorite your video. They come back to it. They go back to your profile. They see you for a second time. And I think that's why like founder content is really powerful, because they start associating your face with the brand. The more they see your face, the more they trust you, plus your product. And when you're handling these objections along the way and, you're making more content, or they're seeing your business grow and develop, that's like inherent social proof for them. So I think that's why small business in particular has really benefited from, a platform like TikTok. And then, sometimes I do run out of ideas. Like I sit there and I'm just like, crap. And then like I'm putting together something that just flops, and it's a bit frustrating, because sometimes, I will put a lot of effort into some videos and then they just don't do well, but it's just part of the game and you just got to keep going. And now it's like sort of finding that balance between, packing orders and stuff like that. They usually work well for us. Like that is sort of a staple in our content, packing orders with a negative hook and some form of story behind it. We just know that works really well. And you got to find a way that's sort of consistent for you to market your product as well. Like, because if you're just like talking in front of the camera all the time, you're not talking about your product enough, no one's going to buy it. No one's going to know it exists. So it's like, you need to put it in there and you need to start like trying to sell your product. Luckily for us, it definitely doesn't sell itself, but when it's got, a glaring, unique selling point and it's for us positioned as though it solves a problem, I think it's obviously a lot easier for us on TikTok. Whereas if I was just like an activewear brand, there would probably be a lot more of that community building type of stuff, gym content and, stuff that isn't really product in the face so much. But I've seen a couple of activewear brands do it quite well, where they do what we do, pin your product off against somebody else and use that to open the conversation and get that controversy. And then,
Yeah. Cool. So what would you say you've done well on TikTok versus not so well? Like obviously there's different types of content and you've been on the platform for quite a bit. What would you say like has worked well for you? Maybe you've created a bit of an SOP or a structure to the video versus maybe something that hasn't worked so well for you.
Yeah. So I guess things that have worked well for us just across the board is anything that is controversial. Like, and people hate that, because they don't want to cause controversy and stuff like that. They don't want to, and it's uncomfortable, like sometimes I will go through some of my hyper viral videos and read the comments and people are bloody nasty, so and you sit there and you're just like, God, like, who are you? Why would you write that? You are such a piece of, so that's sort of controversy for one. Number two, and like you can never stop objection handling. Again, with TikTok, it's going out to a new audience. So like literally if somebody's never heard of us before, but they see us comparing two products, just that in and of itself is interesting before they even know what your product actually even is or does. It's like, oh, we're just comparing these two things that, it's just like those formats are just like always pretty good. And then we don't do too many trends. I think like that's something we've really, moved away from. As for things we just haven't done too well in any sense, it would be, I guess, one thing I feel like we are lacking and I'm trying to figure out is like, I guess, more lifestyle content. I've noticed for me, and just particular, I'm not sure if this is like me just complaining, but or just not working hard enough. But I've just found that my lifestyle content doesn't really perform well at all, and usually I see a lot of other female founders, their lifestyle content like absolutely slaps, so like
I find it personally hard myself as well, but then I see those females like putting some avo and some toast or going on a hot girl walk and there's the sunshine, that sort of content. And then when I look at doing that sort of stuff, I'm like, that's cringe, bro. It's like,
well, I don't see it as cringe. It's just like, even if I did do that, it just doesn't perform. Like it just doesn't, like
they have some aesthetic and magic in the TikTok algorithm.
You're right. I think there is some camaraderie amongst females, and just like I think they're inherently, obviously, as we know, they're typically more social. They're typically more supportive of those things, whereas dudes, we don't really watch that stuff. And generally speaking, again, very generally speaking, we're more in tune to watch men on our For You page, like male content creators and stuff like that, just as much as girls are more inclined to watch female because they're more relatable.
My girlfriend tried to catch me out the other day. We were just sitting there in bed and she's trying to catch me out watching some TikTok chicks, some booty workouts or something. And she watched me for like 40 videos and there was not one girl on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, that's sort of, and this is like something I've really, really noticed, and me and my partner have talked about it, but it's called we call it founder fit on TikTok. And it's like, if you are a spitting image of your target audience, it helps a lot. Like I've seen some girls, I'm just thinking of one activewear brand at the moment, and I think she's just got great founder fit. Like her target audience looks exactly like her. And it's almost like an influencer, like where they want to be that type of person and they want to be her. So they admire her just in and of herself, right? Yeah. She's sort of this influencer for the product. But it's also like that founder fit because girls see themselves directly in her. That's just almost nearly like an aesthetic type of thing on top of relatability. But like even just the way you look, like if you look like a model that would go on your website, you might actually have some good founder fit there. So
that makes sense because like the content that I watch on TikTok is usually just pretty fit blokes in the gym, or I spend a lot of my Sundays meal prepping and stuff like that. So I'm just watching them cook, eating like them, and I brought their courses and stuff like that. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like
fit. There's a new term.
It's just something we've noticed because I was just like, why does their content just really hit their audience? Like, when we're talking like consistent views, they're consistently getting like 10K views and stuff like that. And it's just like, I think it's because of a bit of that. Obviously, like, I don't like to cough up excuses so much, but my target audience is actually female. Like, I think this was a mistake when I first started the brand. Like I just let the market decide my audience. I didn't pick it. And then just it so happened, that my target audience was middle-aged women, like families and stuff like that. They're our highest converters, and they drive most of the sales. So
interesting.
And maybe I do have founder fit with that market because they look at me and they'd be like, oh, let's support like this young guy, on an entrepreneur. Maybe I get more sympathy from that. Whereas like the mums would be less prone to support, I guess, like a young fitness influencer. Like they just don't care about all of that stuff. They just care about like, so to that degree I do have a bit of that. So I guess it comes and goes.
You got to find your own target market and fit in the niche.
I think like I'm still debating this now because we're not quite a full-fledged, we're far from a full-fledged brand right now with its own identity. Yeah. I'm pretty much, as I said, we're still in that startup process, and I'm essentially, an influencer for the product, and now it's like, well, because the market decided, that's the easiest market to sell to. Like I didn't position it particularly, but maybe I positioned it quite naturally again because of the type of content I make and stuff like that. It's like, maybe if I hyper leverage this on the other side, would it have performed so well? And maybe that's inherent to me, or maybe that's just the market that is just by and large easiest to sell to, which doesn't really give me a competitive advantage in the long run, because if it's easy for me to do it, then it's easy for everybody else to do it.
Yeah.
And then let's say, for example, say that Udi wanted to release their own version. We've been thinking about this a lot over here, but if a big competitor released their version, I would inherently just become the dupe. I would become the second class inferior product, right? Because they're more known than I am. So obviously, and then people would see us and they'll be like, oh, what's this little knockoff? It's like they could be 3 years late to the party. So you are on a bit of a clock to build up your brand and your reputation for your product. So yeah, and but however, in saying that, that's why we've been thinking about potentially, pivoting a bit whilst we still can on the branding and stuff like that, and maybe position it more towards millennials, and maybe take a bit more of an aggressive stance about being comfortable at home, like clothes for lazy people and stuff like that, like being a bit more aggressive, because I think millennials are tired of hearing. And not just Gen Z as well.
That would help me purchase. I know on Sundays, especially in my girlfriend, if we're out or we're back home and we have to travel 3 hours home, all we're looking forward to is getting in our trackies and putting the footy on or watching a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we want to do, is go home and relax, because we're lazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we obviously haven't gone down that path yet, but it is something I want to explore, see if it works and it fits right. But yeah, I think most young people are tired of hearing that the hustle and grind, and obviously with your business, I know with mine, it's just that, thought and that premise is always around, that you need to be working super hard, and it's just it's really hard for, I guess, us as entrepreneurs to switch off. But even for other people, just the idea of having to work your whole life and hustle here, hustle there, it's getting a bit old. I think people want to be able to relax and as I said, feel great about being lazy, and it shouldn't be something that's frowned upon. And that's, I guess, if we were going to take a stance, but I guess the higher point here is if we did do something like that, we would have something that's more defensible. We would be able to appeal to a different audience that's much stronger and has a much more powerful calling or brand behind it. So we wouldn't become a dupe. We would just be our own sort of brand. So and that's sort of, I guess, the issues you run into when you're selling to the exact same target market. You are on a bit of a crunch to acquire that target market and become known as the market leader in that category for that target market, if that makes sense.
Cool. And is that a bit of the reason behind why you did the rebrand? I know that's something you went through recently, and it looks like a pretty big rebrand from the outside.
Yeah, no, that was a nightmare, that rebrand. Absolute nightmare.
Regrets or?
Not regrets. Extremely thankful, more so. So when we went to the UK, we sold out from that TikTok.
Yep. And
then when we were going to the UK, it was apparent that the word, our old brand name was Comfort, that was trademarked. So we had, our trademark got rejected. And then after some cheap legal advice, because it had been rejected for the third time now. This wasn't just and it was sort of, I've already started trading the brand name. I'm going to try and get this trademark application across the line because we're already this far down the road, because I don't want to have to rebrand. Got some cheap legal advice, and, this is a key learning is, always get some cheap legal advice in the early stages. It can just cost you $50 for a call on Upwork with somebody, and just to make sure that you don't have this problem. But what happened is essentially the word comfort was already trademarked. And in clothing in particular, it's really hard to get, trademarks for specific categories. This might go a bit too deep into it, but you can trademark things in certain categories. So in clothing, there's all these different categories. You can trademark a brand name on jeans. It can be that specific, and some big brands have managed to get them across. They've actually managed to trademark, like UGG, that's just footwear, but you can't put UGG on anything really down, on your feet. They sort of own that category for that trademark. But they also might own it outside of that, or maybe they don't. It's really confusing. But essentially, the courts and the law operates that clothing brands are typical to expand into a lot of other ranges. So, say if Comfort already existed on bras, I can't just have it on trackies, even if they don't sell trackies, even if they don't have anything related to my product.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the courts, they would say, well, if they wanted to, they should be allowed to expand their product line, sort of thing. And it would just cost a lot of money. And even if you do get it across the line, so you sort of coexist, there's two brand names in the same space, but you're both in different categories, they can still come after you and say, hold on, you can't release this product because this messes with our brand name if you do that. So all these complications, and just that's why I decided to rebrand, because, that can kill your business. Like if you're scaling, then you get like a huge, lawsuit, or you got to pay royalties on top of your thing. Like everything just goes out the window at that point, so, and it can wipe out, years of progress. So, keeping all those things in mind, it was just easier for us to rebrand. We got lucky, and that's why I'm thankful, because we sold out and we managed to clear out, I think it was about like 90% of the old brand name with the stock. And then we got to just pretty much flip the script, turn a new page, swap the website over, and everything was we got very lucky in that sense. Because, I can only imagine, say you've got a warehouse, you got, a couple $100,000 worth of stock in there, you can't sell it because it infringes on trademark, and they just want to shut you down. It's like, okay, you've just lost $300,000 of stock, right? So and you can't do anything, or maybe they go pay a royalty on it, and then it's just like, well, your margins are done and dusted for that until. And, if you built your brand up and then you have to rebrand to something completely different, a couple of years down the track, because again, like you'd know as well, like everything compounds over time. Like you can't rush that brand awareness, right? It has to be built. So when you flip the script, it's like you're almost just wiping a good chunk of it away, So
when you did the rebrand and you switched from Comfort to Pamboes, did you notice like view volume dropping on TikTok, or how was that sort of received from your audience?
I think for us, because we're still quite small, right? Like like 6-figure turnover and stuff like that. Like in terms of e-commerce, it's not that much. It's obviously done well for the one product and stuff like that, but we're not breaking records over here necessarily, not yet. But by that, to its credit, we've spent nothing on ads. So all these things, in perspective. But I think we did notice it, because some customers were like, I got a Daily Mail reporter reach out the other day, and she's just like, did you rebrand? I wanted to do a story. The website's not up because, our old Daily Mail article all links to the old brand name. So, and we've even noticed that from customers. Like, again, like these customers, they've all got Comfort on their pants. So like that brand, if they're going, I want to buy another pair of these, what was that called? Again, because our marketing isn't super front of mind all the time. They might actually go back and be like, what was it called? And then they're going to search it. They won't be able to find it. So I don't think we'll ever be truly able to measure the impact of that at this stage.
Did you keep that Comfort domain, or is that sort of a legal thing that you couldn't do that and redirect back to the Pamboes site? Or
we've kept the domain. But again, people are just going to search it into the Google thing, and if your domain's like not at the top, they're not going to really find it anyway. So like, like e-commerce and building brand and audience is really, really weird. It's something I haven't quite cracked or really understood. I think it's just because it just takes time. You can't rush that, because some people are going to be just one-off purchases. Maybe they buy twice and that's their lifetime value and they're done. Other people are going to be customers for absolute life, and you might only have 20% diehard loyal customers who just buy absolutely everything you do. And that's all you really need at the end of the day to like, because that's your baseline, right? That lifetime value. So we're yet to see the true extent of that. But I have got a couple of emails of people being like, "What's the rebrand?" Like they're just a bit confused. Again, because we're not serving impressions to like the mass market. Like I'm not landing on that page every day being like, hey, we're, even though I posted about it, if they don't see it, they don't see it. And I'm not going to spend all my time being like, we rebrand when, already our audience is quite small. It's just like, whatever, we'll just acquire new people and we'll just keep going. If we lose them, we lose them. I can't do anything about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess rebranding also ties a bit into shiny object syndrome. How do you avoid just going out and making like a jumper or another pair of socks or a different business completely because you've been scrolling through TikTok late at night, like you told me before, and you've just saw this clickbait head title and then you're like, oh, that sounds all right, and then you go down that rabbit hole. How do you avoid that?
Yeah, well, I think for us it was, I guess, more a matter of literal circumstance. Like we just didn't really have the money to expand our product line, too much. And we also didn't have the audience, that we have now. So if I was to do, multiple products too early, this is a big one on branding. And I think you might see with potentially some of your clients or clients that come to you, they're overstocked and they've got tons of different products on their website that maybe don't even necessarily go together as a logical first, second, or bundle option. They're just sort of on there just because they wanted to release that product type of thing, and it just makes it so much harder to sell. And I think that's another reason why, I guess we've done okay, is that, we just got one product. We can focus all our marketing around that, speak to our audience on that. And I think it is really important that you do that. And I don't think there's any one right way to go about this. Some brands can build community very early on and they'll do drop after drop. Yes, their turnovers might look good, but they're still not very profitable. And then I feel like slowly they just become overrun with stock. They've got so much stock that then they try clear out on Black Friday, the busy periods and stuff like that. But when you're a startup, you really can't afford to sort of have a lousy drop. You can't afford it because if I invested my money into a hoodie and it didn't sell, and I'm just holding on to this stock, and as well as I do, stock can be sitting there in e-commerce because you think people will buy it, but they just don't. They'll look at it and go away. They don't care.
Yeah, so that's an issue I face on some sales calls. We jump on, the brand owner's super excited to invest in ads, and then they're like, yeah, I really want to move this stock that isn't moving. And I'm like, I can't sell shit. We're gonna be focusing on your best-selling products and doubling down on what's already working. I'm not in the business of coming in and trying to sell a product that nobody is interested in.
110%. And I think there's always that argument of well, could you find a new bestseller? And I think for a lot of clothing brands in particular, they are on a bit of that quest to find their bestseller, because I'm sure, how you see it, the goal of your bestseller might not be the best margin, might not be the best profit, but it's the best acquirer. It gets the customers in the door because that's where the demand's at, and that's sort of why we wanted to take it that way. It's not the best margin, our products, not, there's tons of other things we could release that, would have much sexier margins on them, but would the demand be the same? Probably not. So, a lot of brands are on that quest to find their bestseller, and, that's why I always advise, doing less is more, small drops, try to figure out what sells, because again, e-commerce is humbling. You can have 10,000 people on your website and not get a single sale, regardless of how much love you've put into your product and all that stuff, so you just got to let the market decide. But I guess that's sort of why we stuck in it. A lot of people I've spoken to were just don't expand too soon, because if you tie up cash in a product, it's just too risky at your stage. You haven't built your brand enough. Let's just focus on the one product. And I think especially with Facebook ads and stuff like that, you can do that super comfortably, whilst you're not going to have, your business isn't going to be hyper profitable, because you're just acquiring customers, and then you might not even have the lifetime value to really harness that, that's sort of the problem we're looking at. But it is what it is. Would you rather, I'd rather just build my audience for the first one to 2 years, and then when I start doing drops, I've got a good audience to sell to. I can get the minimum order quantities from the manufacturer and actually start making that money that you sort of need to off your audience to keep going. And then that the flow on effect is you push that into your ads and you rinse and repeat sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it is hard. Like shiny object syndrome is always tough, and like I always face it. I always like and I feel like for us, well, for me, it's just a case of just running away from my problems. Like I'm just like I've got a problem in the business. Oh, if I start a new business, this one will go away. It'll be so much easier. If I just go over here. But the reality is, it just takes work. Like I've been putting in a lot of work on my creative, like my Facebook ads, getting them all ready. Like we have so much creative now that I've made and I've gotten from UGC that we don't even have the budget to test it. But when we go to the UK and like all that stuff starts ramping up, it's like we're going to have a pretty clear picture on what the weak link is. If it's margin, then it's like, okay, we need to increase our average order value, get an upsell on there. Maybe still, as you said, focus on the best seller and just keep that as the driver until you find a better bestseller.
We use it as a driver on Facebook ads, but then on the website, I know you're in a bit of a different situation, but for other clients, bundling, upselling, post-purchase upsells, email flows, just recommending different products that might go with the one that they brought. Those sorts of things, like those strategies on the back end that people sort of, when they invest in ads, it's going to fix all their problems. But once you start running ads, all these other new problems open up as well.
Yeah, so. Exactly. You just keep notching down your business till you find the real problem, and it's just as I said, for us, it's probably a margin problem, to be honest, but we're not sure. Again, we've spent under $5,000 on Facebook ads. So and we were sort of, for us, like we were breaking even, so it's a good place to start. Right. But, you just got to keep testing your creative, because I don't know, you can pitch in here, but I'm of the belief that, when you're at really early stages, you only need like 1 to 2 creatives to really just set that momentum, clear out some stock, to really push it forward. If you're just on the one product like I am, it's not like I need all these different cross sells, different ads for different products and stuff like that. I can just be like, I just need to find one winner. And it's been evident through TikTok. If I hit a winner TikTok, it'll move all the stock. So it's just like, if I can just replicate that and add, and I'm sure it's out there for us. Regardless of how fruitful and long time that is. But in terms of just getting the wheels turning and getting your stock moving again, I really don't think you need to be focusing on too much else. You can just get away with finding that right creative. And you know better than I, but it's hard, right? It's hard finding a good creative. So
I've been pushing recently just a simple starting strategy, like a $2,000 a month ad budget if you are just getting started out on Facebook ads. And within that strategy, really all you need is one campaign. Now recently it has changed, and I've been using a lot more ad plus campaigns as well. So that's like the new automated version of like running your Facebook ads, sort of like Performance Max on Google, and just having that there. Don't do any targeting, or do your location, your age, your gender, that sort of targeting. Just leave it broad, and then go into the ads, add like 3 ads in there, $65 a day. And throughout like the next week, just leave it, don't touch it, let it optimize for a few days, and then go back in, see which one, was there a standout winner? Was there a standout loser? Cut that, replace that, and sort of go through that a few times for the first month, spend a couple of grand. And by the end of that, hopefully you should have some pretty good performing creatives, especially if you've gone to the Facebook ad library, searched up some of your competitor brands. Maybe you've saved them to an app like Foreplay, which is one that I absolutely love. And then just sort of trying to replicate that as well using your own USPs. And that's sort of the starting recipe for our accounts on a small budget.
Yeah, like that's sort of what we did. Like very similar, Again, we did do that. We obviously have done all that with our creative we have now. But when we first were running, it wasn't even quite, I would say, the best content. We've noticed for us, like the UGC actor, we've spent barely anything, but the UGC actor is a big lever for us. Like if it's a middle-aged woman, if it's a young girl, like that is we've just noticed huge performance swings just based on that factor alone, like that variable. So like now we know it's mums.
Yeah, I have a clothing brand, and like a children's clothing brand, and there's this one little boy that has like the blondest hair, the bluest eyes, and he absolutely crushed it for like 3 launches in a row. And now he's starting to get to that age where I'm starting to notice him disappearing in all the photography. And I'm like, no, get that kid back. He's a superstar.
He's the golden goose. Yeah. No, I love that. That's so funny. Yeah, but it's true. Like and I guess when we first were running our ads, we did have a media buyer, but it's not that it didn't really work out. Things were doing all right, to be honest. But then, we had a lot of issues with the warehouse. That got shut down for a while. Yeah. We had to turn off our ads. We were running like an end of winter sale. We're in season. So like for us, running ads realistically at our stage, given the fact that we don't have other products to survive off in the meantime when we're out of season, we really have to nail that our seasonal, element, and just make sure we're turning over most of our stock in those seasons, because that's when we're going to be most profitable, right? Because we just noticed, like, we were breaking even at the tail end of winter because our stock landed a bit late. We only had 1 month of winter left, and like people have already done their winter shopping. And things are slowing down as much as you'd know if you've got a seasonal brand that you work with, I just made the shot call. I was like, look, if we're breaking even now, things are going to inherently just get worse. Let's use common sense here. So let's just like cut it whilst we're at least breaking even and we're not losing money. And then we'll just, because I needed the cash for Australia restock, so like, I needed to restock Australia. Now what it looks like, we've got like a 70-30 stock split, not the best. 30% of the stock in Australia, 70% in the UK, but it sells in the UK, so it's just like at the end, when we were running our ads, like even to break even is still a good sign, because there's people running ads that can't even break even, right? Like even with like good creative that they've gotten back, they can't even break even. So like, even if you're making
breaking's good, and then obviously word of mouth spreads as well, and you sort of get that halo effect over. If you're in the long game, then you get that halo effect over a couple of years, and people will start, obviously the pants might wear out, or they're growing, maybe they get a bit fatter over the winter or something, and then next time they got to buy a new pair or whatever. So that halo effect's pretty important.
And I think you'd know as well, like the idea of just having this golden product, this hero product, is sort of washing away now. I think especially after the iOS, like you can't hack your way to success through your ad account and just be like, I'm going to, even if you've got a golden product, it's just like, I think inherently, brands are thinking a lot more long-term now. It's not just, is this the best product? It's more like, okay, how do we actually turn it more into a full marketing funnel?
That's what I've seen, especially since the end of the lockdowns. Obviously, there was a lot of brands that were started. There was a lot of quick success. And now brands are seeing that downturn in the economy and going, oh, we're not growing anymore. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, I think that's like really, really, I think that's just a broad and general rule at the moment. Like the economy is slowing down. Like I think we've definitely noticed it as well. And I think for a lot of brands, it's just going to be about hunkering down, getting back to basics, relying on that lifetime value. For us, we're small enough so that we don't really have too much overheads, so we'll be fine. But I definitely have noticed and have heard of like some of my friends' brands like launched in lockdown and stuff, and like they're worried. They're a bit worried because like obviously, like I feel like I'm almost thankful that I didn't start my business in lockdown to some extent, whilst it would have been an absolute Hail Mary, right? Like you would have known
you
from
had a perfect product for it.
Yeah, exactly. Probably would have done me wonders. But at the same time, it's like it doesn't give you an accurate representation of your business, and is your product actually a good seller? Like I think a lot of people have had to come to terms with that, like because they've just been like they were flying in lockdown, like things were easy, and you could sell bloody stickers through Facebook ads, I'm sure. But like now, it's like
those non-essential items are definitely much harder to sell. Like you really do need USPs. You do need something that makes somebody's life easier. Or more comfortable, or there has to be something, a unique selling point, or a problem that you are solving.
So true. Yeah, I think that's why we've managed to get as far as we have just off the one product, because I can at least position this thing as though it solves a problem. Like you've seen some of our marketing stuff like that. It's like fundamentally people are buying our product because they're cold, right? They're cold and their trackies aren't doing them justice anymore. So that's sort of the whole thing, right?
And you do need to write down sort of every little thing that your problem does solve. And even if you think it's a small thing that nobody will care about, it's somebody's problem. Like this water bottle, I brought it because I wanted my water to stay colder for longer while it's sitting on my desk. That was like the only reason. It's like, that's like a minor inconvenience to my day. Like I had to get up and go refill the water bottle too often through the day because I had this little glass sitting on my desk. It's like, that's how inconvenient, and like just getting out of my chair because I'm lazy.
110%. Yeah, well, that's sort of the first thing we started with. Like, I got to my wit's end with my wearable blanket, with the Sherpa washing it. Like, it was just a nightmare. And I was like, surely we can change this fabric to something similar that doesn't turn into Velcro after a couple of washes, get some bark in there, get some dirt in there. Like it's never the same, and it just gets so much worse, once it starts going down. But yeah, and we were just looking for a alternative to that. And like people think that that's a trivial problem. They're just like, oh, you just brush your blanket, you just brush it. It's like, I'm not brushing my bloody blanket with some unmatting brush like it's a dog or something like that. Like,
that's why my girlfriend doesn't wear a hoodie anymore, because it's all got like lint balls through the inside.
Yeah, exactly. It's gross. It doesn't make you feel comfy. It doesn't make you feel cozy. It makes you feel like the opposite of how you want to feel in that product. And I guess it's to its credit, it makes you go back and buy a second one. But so there is that level of like, you want your product to deteriorate to some extent. But
it's like the iPhone batteries just carking it after a couple of years, so you go and upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Like you do need to have that, but like it's weird. Like it's a trivial problem, but people really rallied behind that in our first stance of marketing. Like and that really helped us get the first initial traction that we are in this space as well. And this is why our product is maybe better. And we've also got the USP that we do the pants, right? Like, that's why I've also been hesitant to do the hoodies, because I didn't want to just go, we're just doing something similar over here, marketing it very similar. Wanted to wait a bit until like people were like, no, like they do their own products,
Cool. Obviously, we're coming up. We're going over an hour now.
Right.
It's been a really good chat, and like I have time to stay on, but we might have to do a part 2 because I found all that information really valuable, and it was good to get the insights into obviously a e-com brand perspective as well. Whereas like some clients are like, oh yeah, we're struggling with our manufacturing, or we're struggling with our shipping or our margins, and that's why we're going to have to let you go, unfortunately. Like it's nothing to do with you guys, like you're generating good results. It's just other factors in business that some businesses do just have to like make cuts or make changes or pivot or
well, I've seen that like a couple of my, including you, like my other media buyer friends and stuff like that, they've lost a couple of clients, and like they're feeling the pinch too. And it's just like from the brand perspective, it's just at the end of the day about trying to cut costs, like advertising. This probably isn't going to be the period where brands are growing too much. Like if you're growing, you're lucky, so, or even if you're even, you're lucky, but I think, it's the time to just hunker down, think about more the long-term strategies that you can implement, and just, accept that it might be quieter, which sucks. You don't like a backward step, but sometimes you got to take a backward step to take 2 forward. So
if you're taking a backward steps, obviously you're looking at areas in your business that you can improve, and as long as you're taking a step forward each day and you're constantly growing, maybe it's even just improving the first 3 seconds of your video. For like 3 videos in the row, right? Like you're still progressing. And then like I look at my videos or some content that I put out when I first started compared to now, and I don't know if you look your old videos back, but some of that stuff was cringe.
Well, you gotta get through the crap quality. I'm the same. Like I cringe looking at my first video, but I even went like part-time at my job early on just so I could learn like all these skills. I think that's another reason why like we've sort of done well. I see a lot of startups, they hang on to the job, and like you should, because cash flow is king. But like, it's like if you're not learning the skills. You're not learning your content creation. Like these skills are like, you need to learn them. You need to get good at it. So yeah, you need to invest that time.
I went balls deep. I quit before I even started the business.
Oh, jeez. So you didn't even have a client? Like, did you not have a client?
No, I didn't have a client. I'd been watching on YouTube. I'd done sort of half a course, and
too much
like I hated the job at the time, and then just.
But you got to do it. Yeah, I feel like for some people, like for me, I dropped out of uni for this. So it's just like, when I think, as men in particular, you hit that stage, like I would say, like, your mid-20s, where you get, for the first time in your life, a clear picture of where you're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, if you stay where you are or you don't. And these thoughts start coming to the surface. So it's just like, hold on, like, what do I actually want out of my own? Like all these like questions start coming up, and then it's just like, you do have to make these ballsy decisions. So I support your confidence. And now look at you, right? Like people always like, you need to have your back up against a wall sometimes. Like I know myself, I wasn't going to get this business moving unless I dropped uni, and then and that's been my philosophy going forward. Like even going to the UK, I was extremely scared. I'm taking on a warehouse, I'm doing all this stuff, my sales volumes are like inconsistent, and it's just like, but if I didn't do that, I never would, right? So it's just like, when these things pop up, it's like, you just got to shoot, and then it's just like, you'll figure it out. Like I don't know, that works for me. It gets me in a ton of trouble, but it pushes the business forward. And I feel like you got to have a bit of that to you, because if you sit there and you overthink it, you're going to find a million reasons not to do it.
Yeah. And then you've always got to take risk to grow and get out of your comfort zone, I guess. Like some clients I know that I've lost clients, like they will just sit at like 2K, 5K a month ad spend, get a 6 times return for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they part ways, because I'm like, I'm pushing growth. I'm like, let's scale this budget. This is working really well. And they're like, my lifestyle's comfy. Like I can spend time with the kids at home and that sort of thing. And they've created a business and got it to a point where they don't want to grow anymore. They've created that perfect work-life balance for them. And now they don't need me because I've set up ads that are so consistent. Right, and now they're like, oh, we'll just keep that running, but we'll just cut you out of it. So like people go through different stages, but if you are in a growth phase, then risk is important. And
100%.
Trying to obviously find the balance between jumping off a cliff or maybe with rocks at the bottom, or maybe there's some water at the bottom, and just taking those calculated risk.
110%. I feel like, there's definitely room. And I think like your perception of calculated risk, it's never like perfect. You just get better at it through making decisions. Like, for instance, when we went to the UK, my glory strategy was going to just be retargeting everybody who that viral video hit. So everybody who wanted to purchase went out, like, I reckon it would have killed. We had like 20,000, I don't even know how many saves it's got on that video, if we just retarget it, even if we put the exact same video and just was like, oh yeah, I wanted to buy that, I reckon it would have done well. But then we found out that we couldn't actually get advertiser access to the UK. Like we couldn't. And I was just
like, TikTok, that's so annoying. You got to start in your
and I was
home
like,
country.
That's my main channel. And then I was just like trying to install, a pixel onto,
and then you can't pull the TikTok data onto Facebook.
You don't have the saves, so all the strategy just sort of went away. And I was just like, that's like, and that's the good thing about like, I guess like the TikToks and having your organic. You're not just targeting interest; you're targeting like specific sort of actions within those apps, and it. Outside of like the iOS and stuff necessarily, it's like, no, TikTok has that data. People have saved that video. So it's like, it helps a lot. And like all those things. So it's not just like you're retargeting your web visitors for the past 30 days or something like that. So it's like, I don't know, really, really tricky, but you got to take those risks. But now we're in the UK. Now I've got, now I don't have to worry in summer. I'm sure like it'll keep me busy, and I'm hoping that regardless if we grow this year or not, things will be a bit more consistent. We'll have like sales through here, maybe we dip off a bit once Australia's done, but then we'll pick right up again, you know, because that was probably something really difficult for me mentally over summer. I think here, like we got a bit lucky, but, you know, sales has slowed down. And like when you're in a first year startup, you know, it's like you don't ever want to be slowing down. Like you just want to be growing. But I'm not even like growing at like record rates, but just growing consistently, just getting that feedback that you're on the right track and like this is working. And just constantly having those ticks of approval go off in your head, because it's just like when you're not getting that, you know, it's soul destroying. You know, you sit there and you're just like, you know, your business is like your baby. So like, you know, and like when a client's leaving, it's just like, it's another problem, you know. But I guess, yeah, so that's the plan for now. It's just boot up the ads in winter. We're going to launch this thing next week. I don't know how well this restock will do, because it'll be really interesting, because this is our first restock that's in season. When we launched, we sold out, and then we did restock. We released black, and that did okay, but definitely not as much as I was hoping, because we restocked probably in about August or something like that, September.
Towards the end.
Yeah, like, you know, outside of winter, and then like heading more so into summer. So like when we restocked, we still had that stock, you know, left over, but then it sold to the UK. So this year is going to be super interesting, I think, just to see like what's our actual lifetime value, because people, again, are only buying our product once. Typically, they might buy 2 pairs.
Yeah,
but they're going to be most inclined to buy it in season as well. So like for the most people who have just bought the 1 pair, do they come back this year? We don't know. So like all these factors and stuff like that, we get to sort of play on. Maybe I played it too safe with the stock order. Maybe, I don't know, I should have gotten more, but you know, you never know. And then like, at least off that, we can decide where to go from here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a journey that I'm looking forward to watching on TikTok. I know you post a fair bit, and I'm sure you'll keep us updated on that. Do you want to give yourself a quick plug?
No, it's all right. Like I don't post too much valuable information out there at the moment. But the brand's Pamboes, if you want to go follow it. But
yeah, you're downselling yourself, mate. Really good TikTok channel. I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, part of the reason why I reached out to you to jump on this pod is because I do find brands that do put a face to it, and like the founder jumps on and handles those hate comments and those sorts of things. I find that entertaining from my end, just as a business owner, and just looking at how you handle those sort of comments. So yeah, I do find your content valuable, and yeah, keep doing the good work that you are doing.
Yeah, awesome, Lachie, and likewise. I hope this year, I hope we both do well, because we're both obviously going into a slower period, but like I think you know, through grit and determination, I think we'll be fine.
Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, but if you're looking for more, be sure to find more episodes on the platform you're viewing on, or head over to Instagram to find tons of valuable clips.